So for a guy who's never played a single game of Dungeons & Dragons in his whole life, there weren't a whole lot of reasons for me to see this movie. Any novelty in the idea got well and truly burned off after the first D&D film. Ugh. And there were even fewer reasons after this article started making the rounds. Oh, they loved emasculating their male characters because it was funny to them. Wow, that's so original. Definitely not like 99% of the rest of the man-hating junk Hollywood's been making for the last few years. Yeah, so I wasn't planning to see this thing, but I asked in the community tab if I should do a review, and you guys seem to want one. So I figured, what the hell? At least I can tell people how crap the movie is, right? But then something very strange happened. Turns out, despite what that article and the marketing campaign would have you believe, Dungeons & Dragons Honor Among Thieves is actually good. I know, right? I was surprised too. Okay, elephant in the room. That article stoked a fire that did not need to be stoked. Generally, I like Comic Book Resource. I get a lot of my news about geeky type stuff from them, but this article was kind of misleading and intentionally clickbaity. I also think that quote everybody freaked out about was either taken out of context or blown way out of proportion. Or both. Because the filmmakers, John Francis Daley and Jonathan Goldstein, these are the same guys who made Game Night, which is a very underrated and sadly underappreciated film. These dudes are smart, talented, and they're not people who are gonna half-ass a D&D movie. I imagine they were geeking the hell out when they got this gig. Now, they should have known better than to say what they said in this interview. That was really dumb. But they also pointed out that the emasculating male characters thing wasn't done out of wokeness. And having seen the movie now, I didn't get the impression that it was. And to give it some context, the important quote in the article was this bit here. They wanted the male characters to be challenged and not simply be heroic, which, when you're telling a story about characters who are flawed and imperfect, is a good thing. Characters need challenges to overcome. They need struggles and mountains to climb. That's what makes you want to get behind them and root for them. And just because a male character struggles with something, it doesn't automatically mean he's being emasculated or that the movie has gone woke. Sure, it might mean that, but it also might just mean that the male character isn't perfect. Now, there's definitely been a particular narrative crafted about all this by various people, CBR, the media, the advertising campaign, to frame the movie in a certain way to make it look like Chris Pine and the other penis havers in the movie are getting the ass end of this, which was absolutely idiotic and will cost them money. That was really damn stupid. Those people who got turned off or were on the fence about seeing it should have been encouraged to see Honor Among Thieves, because believe it or not, the movie is actually really fucking good. Seriously, I was stunned how much I enjoyed myself here. But in case you're still wondering about the emasculation and the wokeness and all that stuff, I think that was a poor choice of words on the filmmaker's part, first of all, because the article makes it sound like that's what the whole movie is about. It's not. I'll put it like this. Is there some stuff like that in the movie? Sort of, yeah. But the reasons the movie gets away with it are, 1, any quote-unquote emasculation or wokeness is almost entirely superficial, as in it doesn't really matter. 2, it's never mean-spirited or sexist. 3, it's not one-sided, so the women characters get some of this too. And 4, you probably won't even care, because the movie's so entertaining you'll be laughing the whole time. Now, when I say superficial, I mean, yes, they cast Michelle Rodriguez as the muscle of this team, because what other role is Michelle Rodriguez gonna play? So in a fight scene, she's usually the one who's out in front. But that doesn't mean the dudes are useless. It just means they have different skill sets. Like, if you're in a big fight, you're not gonna have the mage or the bard wielding a battle axe. They're gonna be in the back casting spells or doing something wacky to distract the bad guys while the tank is the one getting their hands dirty. And even if Rodriguez is the tank in most situations, there are still several times when she gets into trouble and needs Chris Pine to step in and save her ass, which he does. And overall, yeah, Chris Pine and Justice Smith do get more of the jokey stuff than Michelle Rodriguez and Sophia Lillis, but the most capable and formidable character on the good guy's side is a dude. I think you can guess which one, but it still counts. So the women are strong, but they still need help, and the men do struggle with some things, but they're good at other things. And they also have the most fleshed out arcs in the movie, so it balances out pretty well. The part that I think comes the closest to being emasculating or woke is a scene where Michelle Rodriguez meets up with her ex. Without spoiling anything, because there is something to spoil there, the way this guy is presented probably did look emasculating on paper, and I absolutely thought it would be when the scene started, but in the movie, it doesn't really come off that way, because again, it's not petty or mean-spirited. This isn't a guy she was with because she liked dominating him or being the alpha. He's someone she genuinely cared about and is still hung up on, even though their relationship ended and he moved on with someone else. It isn't about making women look more powerful than men or whatever. This is just the kind of guy she's into because she's weird like that. And that's the approach the movie takes with most things. There is stuff that might appear woke on the surface or when it's viewed out of context, like in a lot of the marketing material, unfortunately, but once you look a little closer, you see it's all pretty harmless. And I didn't get the sense that this movie had any kind of agenda aside from just being entertaining. And mission accomplished on that. For starters, the movie is f***ing funny. This is the funniest film I've seen this year. It's loaded with humor, and I'd say a good 90% of the jokes land great. People in my theater were laughing through the whole thing, and they clapped when it was over. Chris Pine should do more movies like this. His comedic timing is on point. Also, the action, surprisingly good. Now, there's nothing, like, mind-blowing in that department, but for a movie that's trying to be VFX heavy and keep its budget within reason at the same time, there's some pretty great stuff here. And there's one sequence I have to single out because I'm a geek for this stuff. The best scene in the movie involves Sophia Lillis, her shapeshifter character, being chased by villains. And it's one of those super long one-er shots with no cuts, so you see her shifting into different forms as she's chased through a bunch of different set pieces, one after another. She's in human form, hiding inside a suit of armor, but then she gets spotted, so she morphs into a rat. Now she's being chased through the castle as a rat. Then she morphs into a bird and flies out the window into a different house, morphs into a cat, runs out of the house into the street, morphs into something else as she dodges arrows getting shot at her, all while being chased by bad guys, all done in one shot with no cuts. So f***ing cool. If you know anything about the technical side of filmmaking, you know how f***ing difficult shots like that are to pull off. And this is the kind of shit you wouldn't get if you didn't have talented people who were working really damn hard to make a good D&D film. In that same vein, the VFX are pretty respectable. Yeah, some of the green screen stuff is very obvious, and there's nothing top tier like Avatar 2 or anything like that, but for an action movie based on a fantasy tabletop game that wasn't insanely expensive like most comic book movies are these days, this could have looked a hell of a lot worse. And it's not just the technical side either. I was surprised by how smart the writing was. Not only do the jokes work, but the script is very witty, the dialogue is sharp, there are some clever twists and turns in the story, and there's some stuff in the third act about Chris Pine's character and his family that's actually pretty heartfelt. You might even get a little misty-eyed. It's good shit. And if you still have any doubts that this movie was made with good intentions by people who really cared, there's a cameo that should change your mind. It's a cameo so brief a lot of people will miss it, but it's in there, and I feel okay spoiling this because most viewers probably won't even notice that characters from the Dungeons and Dragons cartoon from the 1980s. And I don't mean the voice actors who played them, I mean live-action versions of the characters. They're in the movie. That's what really got me, because I remember that cartoon. I watched it when I was a little kid. That was my introduction to D&D, and it was blink and you miss it, but when those guys showed up, I was like, alright, you got me, movie. I give. Hats off to you. You did good. Don't let the trailers or articles like the one on CBR fool you. D&D Honor Among Thieves is a terrific movie that unfortunately was shot in the foot by a bad marketing campaign. I went in expecting it to be total crap, and I ended up having a lot of fun with this, which is why it sucks so much that it's likely gonna get crushed by John Wick Part 4 at the box office. And if not by that movie, then this one will certainly do it. Because I think a lot of people took Honor Among Thieves for granted, and it deserves better than that. So if you got turned off by the trailers or by anyone in the media who wanted to frame it as woke propaganda or man-hating garbage or whatever, it's not like that. It's just a really fun movie, which, all things considered, is probably better than it had any right to be. So I say put down the dice, load up a Critical Role podcast for the drive to the theater, and go see it. Thanks so much for watching, and while you're here, do all the other YouTube things. Ding the bell icon and follow my social media to be notified when I upload new stuff. The links are down there, and most importantly, importantly, don't forget to hit that thumbs up, leave a comment, share the video, subscribe, and make sure you're still subscribed, because what really deserves to be labeled a woke, man-hating dumpster fire and written off as trash by the fans before they've even seen it is the YouTube algorithm. That's all for now, but I'll be back with more soon. So take care, stay tuned, I'll see you next time.